Hi everyone and welcome back. So in the last couple of videos we talked about AWS setup because we are talking about microservices and their deployment, and we decided to do things with the AWS CDK. So these are the things which we are talking: set up AWS account, and third is we already discussed about create admin user and set up AWS profile so he can run the AWS commands from the command line, like AWS configure is the command which you can use to configure the AWS credentials. Then you can access the AWS resources because AWS configure will take your AWS access key and the secret key, and once you enter them, once you are authorized, you can actually read the resources, create the resources using AWS CLI. So you need to have an AWS CLI installed on command line. I mean, if you are using Mac or Ubuntu, then that's pretty much simple. And then here, because here now we are going to use CDK, AWS CDK. So we have to install this as a package, AWS CDK as a globally, so that it's like this is how you will do it. I will just come to that point. How you are going to do that? It involves the multiple steps. So what we are doing here is simple: create AWS account, create an admin user. So here we will set up AWS programmatic access through the CLI. Then we will install AWS CLI and bootstrap our account. So you can just simply see what we are doing. I mean, AWS CDK can be done in all different languages. What we will do is we will configure the AWS profile, and how we do it simple is AWS CLI should be installed on your Mac or Ubuntu, and then you can just do AWS configure, simple command, and it will ask you if you are doing SSO. Then you need to pass your SSO URL and all. Otherwise, you can just simply set up your access key ID and secret key, and then you install it using npm module. Because we are talking about JavaScript, you need to install AWS CDK CLI using as a global module, npm install -z, and you can just start doing all these things. So this is what AWS configure will do. AWS configure will ask you the access key ID and a secret key, and you will enter accordingly, right? Then npm install -z, there is a CDK CLI we are installing, AWS CDK. But I already have this version. I can just check now how to check the CDK version. I mean, CDK command you should be able to run globally. You can see CDK -- version, right? And it actually checks your node version. So if you have NVM, use v20.0.0. Do I have it? 18.0.0. I should have it. Now using that, I can just install it globally on the 18 version, and then I can just check the version, CDK version, and here now it is not complaining, right? Because node 16 has reached end of life, and now we need to move it to 18 and 20.0 to use CDK. I mean, they are just using the stable version. Now the basic commands which you need to use is CDK bootstrap, and you should be able to use these commands only when your AWS profile is configured, because it is going to run these commands against your AWS account. So I mean, CDK, these are the different basic commands. What are the commands I will talk about? CDK init, that will create a basic project structure for you. Then CDK bootstrap, then CDK deploy and stack name, and CDK destroy. These are some of the basic commands. Now we will try to understand how it works. CDK, I'll just create a folder. And we can simply do is CDK init. I can choose a template, CDK init app, language equal to TypeScript. So it will give me the template configured for our code, and that we can just see in our VS Code that what this code it is generating. It is just a TypeScript, a JavaScript code which will going to create infrastructure for you. And these are simple CDK commands: CDK dev, CDK synth, CDK deploy. Right, these are the basic commands, and here you can see the code structure. It's nothing but a TypeScript project, right? And you can just see the infra. I'll just try to open it in the code. I'll just open this in the VS Code so we can see a bit more. So here you can see the basic TypeScript project. Here and here is your stack, right? This stack is going to, now you can inside this stack. So we already talked about AWS CDK. It has a stack, it has a constructs, right? And to deploy this, you also need to configure, okay, on which account, what is your default region. All these you can configure in the environment. And inside this stack, you can create the constructs. Either it can be SQS, SNS, Lambda, API gateway, Dynamodb, whatever. But this is the default setup. This is stack. This is your, inside this stack you can have a constructs, and these are the basic commands which you can run. Now to deploy this, what commands you will just use, if I talk about simple thing is CDK synth, right? I can just use nvm use, and I can just do CDK synth. It actually synthesize, like, okay, what all constructs and what all stack you want me to create, and it has created this CloudFormation template, right? It will be created in the CDK out folder. And here this is the CloudFormation template structure has been created. You can see this. If you have seen the CloudFormation template, then this is how it looks like. And this is the manifest, like what all resources we are looking for. And then npx, you can also use npx command or CDK deploy. You need to specify the stack name for it. CDK deploy. So in the package JSON, we have the CDK deploy command. And what the CDK deploy command is looking for, CDK deploy command will look for CDK. There is a file created for it, CDK JSON. So CDK JSON is a existing file. What it talks about. Okay, this is your application. Okay, and all these files are there, and this is the context. So when you do CDK deploy, why it is currently complaining, because we don't have AWS account configured. What it is doing is deployment failed timestack, the security token included request is invalid, because we haven't provided a security token for this account. We haven't configured AWS credentials, which is AWS access key and a secret key. That's why we cannot deploy this simple application. What we need to do is we need to do AWS configure. I have multiple AWS account, so I need to configure it properly, and then I can just do CDK deploy, and then you can just do CDK destroy also. If your CDK resource has been created, then you should be able to destroy that stack. Currently we don't have this stack created. So what are the basic commands? Let's go back to our code. CDK bootstrap. Before even doing everything, you need to do CDK bootstrap also, because what happens, how the CDK really works. Let's try to understand it. This is your code. This is your AWS credentials, AWS account. This is your CloudFormation template, and this is how you push the code. So this is your AWS account. This is the CDK code, let's say. Now when you deploy it, what happens is it creates a CloudFormation template, and then it actually pushes that CloudFormation template to AWS account. So Bootstrap is nothing but it's actually creating a deployment infrastructure for these CloudFormation template. It creates S3 bucket, which keeps track of the resources which are being created, deleted, updated, and all the versions. So initially you created one S3 bucket using stack. Then you might be adding a new bucket. So this CloudFormation S3 bucket is keeping track, okay, this resource already exists. We are just going to create a new resource. All those things is being managed, and all those things has been is happened through the Bootstrap process. When you do the Bootstrap, it actually takes care of, okay, all the infrastructure stuff which needs to be bootstrapped so that the deployment can happen. So CDK init, it is just creating the basic code structure for you, right? Now you will create a stack and the construct. CDK Bootstrap will prepare infrastructure for you using CloudFormation template, S3 bucket, and all those things. And then CDK deploy. Once you have a code, you will just do CDK synth first, which will synthesize the template and will give you any errors if you have. Otherwise, CDK deploy will just take this template and will take it to the AWS. And then CDK destroy will destroy all the resources has been created on AWS through this stack and the constructs. Okay. So this is the whole mystery of all these things. CDK, this is the CloudFormation template which we are creating. This is your AWS account. And this is your AWS credentials, which you need to have AWS access key and the secret key. Without this, we cannot do anything. Okay, because when you do CDK deploy, you will get an error. So this is the basic setup. And what I was talking about is, this is how you bootstrap, CDK bootstrap, and you need to specify the account which you need to bootstrap. Like let's say if I do CDK bootstrap, it will give an error because I haven't specified anything. AWS account number and the reason. Okay, you can also get your identity, CDK tools, and all. So first I will set up my I will configure my account based on the admin access I have, and then we will start these basic commands. So here I'm creating access key and the secret key for one of my admin user through the admin account. Sandbox, and then I can copy this and down, done. Access key and the secret key. So now first to get your account ID, which is here, copy this thing. I think it's copied. This is your account number. And the reason is, I think we are US East 1. There we are deploying our resources. So I already have configured my profile. I can just run this command, CDK bootstrap, and let's see. CDK bootstrap this account. So what is this creating? This is creating a CloudFormation change set. Okay. What actually you are doing with the CDK bootstrap, you're actually creating a platform so that your CloudFormation template can be pushed to AWS. And when you do this, I can try to run that command again. What it is doing, this is your account ID, this is your region. It is actually bootstrapping the environment. So this is the first thing which you should do before deploying any application to AWS. And you can see environment is already bootstrapped, no changes. And once it is bootstrapped, you will see the change here is this default stack has been created, CDK Toolkit. CDK Toolkit is the stack which is going to deploy any other resources. It's like a bootstrap of everything. So this is something which is a prerequisite. It has actually created a bucket policies and all. This is creating a platform so that your all the other tech which you are going to deploy through the AWS CDK can be pushed to AWS. So this is the bootstrap stack which will always be there. Okay. Now I can just do is CDK deploy. What it will do, I already have CDK in it. I bootstrap my environment. I'm just doing a CDK deploy, which should be able to create the stack. I mean, you should be able to push the CloudFormation template to AWS. You can see it is creating this temp stack to the region. It is creating this CloudFormation genset. It is like the first time we are deploying this. And here you can see the progress happening. Do we have any stacks being created? You can see here this temp stack creation is in progress. And what are the resources it is creating? We haven't specified any resources or any construct. So it is just only the stack which is getting deployed. So I think create is complete. We can see this temp stack doesn't have any resources. We can add some resources. And this is what the deployment is complete. CDK synth command is synthesize to check, okay, your CloudFormation stack is complete. It generates this CloudFormation template, and then you can do CDK destroy, because here we are just playing with things. CDK destroy will remove this stack. You need to make sure that you wanted to delete this particular stack. If yes, just get rid of it. And here the deletion will start. So all these things, if you see what all these things are happening, all these things are happening through the CloudFormation. I mean, I think we need to delete this manually. It's already destroyed. Delete field. This is the old one. I mean, that has already been deleted successfully. I will try to delete this manually. This is not the current one. This is the old one, which I'm deleting. So deletion is successful. Now, if you come to the code, in code, what we are doing currently, it has one stack, right? And it is using this particular, I mean, this is like a one stack which doesn't have any constructs, but we can also put some constructs. Let's say I wanted to create a SQS queue. And for the SQS, I need to get the import. My infrastructure is telling me that you need a SQS queue, or you need a Lambda, you need API gateway, Dynamodb, all these things we will put inside this stack. And these will be considered as a construct. This is actually a construct, okay? Now, if I try to deploy this, CDK synth you can do. CDK synth will just create a CloudFormation template. And this CloudFormation template also tells you that it needs a SQS queue. And then CDK deploy. What it will do is it will start creating the resources, whatever is there in the CDK template. You can see here it is publishing, generating the resources, and we can see some progress happening here also. A temp stack is creating resources. This time we have added SQS. So SQS should be one of the resource which it should be creating. That should come up pretty much soon. You can see it is creating temp queue. And you can see this is the temp SQS queue, right? So if you go to SQS and SQS, you will see this one SQS queue has been created. This is the one, temp stack. I mean, this is AWS managed service, SQS, which can be triggered through the Lambda or through the SNS. It can have an event bridge, DLQ, monitoring, all those stuffs. But what we are doing is through simply AWS CDK, we are able to create AWS resources. That's the major demo part, right? I'm not going to use SQS, so I will just get rid of this resource which has been created. I will just do CDK destroy. And it will delete this particular resource which we have created. So this is just a simple demo, okay? How we are getting bootstrapped, how we are getting started. This is what I was going to talk about in this video is, if you are a Windows user, install AWS CLI. AWS CDK is actually NPM module. Bootstrap your account by getting account ID. And before that, you need to set up your AWS credentials, configure the programmatic access using access key and secret key, which you can download for your IAM user, because I created one IAM user and I have there its access key and a secret key. This secret key is security credentials. I won't reveal you everything. This is the access key and secret key I already have. I have configured that. I will just delete the access key and secret key which I'm using right now. To confirm deletion access key ID. First I can deactivate and then I can delete. Because while demo, all these things get exposed to the outside world. So we need to be sure that we are deleting things. Okay, so this is pretty much. So we understood how this CDK really works, and CDK is sitting with our code, which is able to now what we are going to do, we are going to put these commands, CDK deploy commands, in our pipeline that should be able to create our Lambda API gateway Dynamodb through these simple commands CDK deploy. And on AWS we should be able to see the resource created. So that is the advantage of using this CDK stuff with our code. It's infrastructure as a code, right?